So you know what it feels like for us, Turtle Boy and Cullinane? This is what it felt like I supposed to be in East Germany and look, over to the other side of the wall and see what it's like for free people, or you be in one of those Soviet little satellite countries and look at look at the Nordic countries and say, that's what it must be like to be free. We are and I want to bring this back to golf again. We are in the state. We're in the belly of the beast here. We're in the state that will open up last, that will accept the return of normalcy, the return of capitalism. We'll be last. You understand that already, right?
We're last in everything, yeah.
It's how it today.
Today, New Hampshire is a full systems go,
yes,
right?
So over the border in New Hampshire, you can go to a store. You could go to a mall. They're opening a mall. Can you believe that? They're opening a mall in New Hampshire. So if you're a Massachusetts person, if you're a Massachusetts politician, the governor, a media person, what you're doing right now is predicting, thousands will die because they opened a mall. You don't know how that will work, but you just know that you shouldn't open up because that's how we're raised. That's how we're taught in Massachusetts that capitalism is bad and we must look to the government to tell us what to do. I've been frustrated for whatever it is, 50 something days by this, and it's getting worse. We are in this state. We are thinking all wrong. It's backwards. We're thinking, how can we stay closed up longer? How can we hurt businesses, small businesses, even more? What can we do to screw up the lives of the 1 million? I believe it's over 1 million who've lost their jobs in this state alone, which is more than the number of people in Vermont. It's almost as many people who are in the state of Maine. That's how many people have lost their jobs in this state. And as far as I could tell, Turtle Boy, the governor, the lieutenant governor, almost all our elected officials don't give a shit. It's amazing. They're like, what can you do? We got to stop the virus.
Saving lives, Joey. They're saving grandma. You don't care about grandma. We've been over it.
But and I said this a long time ago, a month ago. I said, eventually everyone's going to read up. They're going to watch the news. They're going to pay attention. They're going to be online. They got time. And they're going to say, well, wait a second. Almost all the victims are in nursing homes. Almost all the victims are over 70.
82 is the median.
82 is the median age, correct? So which is 4 or 5 years older than the average lifespan. So it is tragic. It is awful. We've gone over this a million times. The state, most states dropped the ball on this. It was certainly New York, where that idiot Andrew Cuomo was sending coronavirus patients into nursing homes. Here we dropped the ball at that Soldiers Home in Holyoke in Massachusetts. But eventually people are catching up. They're reading up in other states, in other parts of the country. They're opening restaurants. Down south. They're opening restaurants, out in the West. And in Massachusetts, they're going undercover to find out that people in the basement of restaurants are drinking beer. You wrote about this. Turtle Boy has a great blog on the Chicopee. If you don't know Chicopee, it's a town in Western Mass with issues. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, it's just in Western Mass. It's right next to Springfield, like the size of Peabody. I mean, it's not like a small town or anything like that. They have problems.
Didn't you say your buddy was doing something like this, Jerry? Didn't you say you had a buddy that? Didn't we talk about?
I got a friend who goes to a restaurant. They're just doing takeout, but it's a very popular restaurant and very popular takeout place. And the owner, and he just sits at the bar with the owner, and they drink beer, and he's happy. He says, 3 or 4 guys. I'm not going to name the place because they might go undercover. But to me, it is maddening that not only are the cops doing this because I guess the governor wants them to, but there are people in the town who are calling up. They're picking up their food at this restaurant in Chicopee. What's the name of it? Dugout Cafe.
Dugout Cafe, yeah.
Dugout Cafe. So people call up and order a pizza, and they go down and pick it up, and they look down down the hall or down the stairs, and they see somebody at a table with a beer, and they call the cops. We are living with a bunch of, just.
Well, but why are they calling the cops, Jerry? It's because the police set the tone in this town. I've said from the beginning, the police are the ones that are going to be put to the test here, and the Chicopee police have failed miserably, way more than any other town or city in this state. They've literally been, on May 1st, they posted that they wanted on Facebook that they wanted people to call 911 if they see people not social distancing. On April 1st, they bragged about how in their Walmarts and in their BJ's, quote unquote, non-essential items and rows are literally roped off. So if you go here to get one thing, and then you need another thing, and Walmart has it, but you can't buy it, then you have to go to another store. So there's just inconveniencing and sending people to different stores. It makes no sense whatsoever. And here we have this incident yesterday in which I cannot believe the tone deafness of this. They post this like they're bragging, like they see nothing wrong with this. They sat outside of this Dugout Cafe for 45 minutes and staked out 6 people going in, and they noticed, ooh, only 2 came out. So that means if you do the math, the other 4 are still inside. I wonder what they're up to. And they go inside and they find cigarettes, and they post about them. Okay, let's see what did they get here? What's the big bust? Is it drugs? What do they got? What do they got here? Oh, it's just 4 guys in the basement drinking and a gambling machine. Oh man, it's like, what is this, prohibition? We're literally busting up speakeasies now.
I mean, you got to ask. Someone got to ask. What are you doing? Why are you doing this? What does it do? What does it accomplish? Does it stop the spread? Of course it doesn't. It's nonsense, and people just accept it. Again, the cops. Shame on the cops. Shame on the Chicopee police. This is an embarrassment to all cops that you get an undercover guy going down there and busting them and say, this is the governor's orders. I mean, you know what? It's your job to say, this is ridiculous. I got things to do. There's real crime out this. We're not going to bust the place because 4 guys are having a beer in the basement. So that if they went next door in somebody's house and went in the basement and had a beer, no problem. But they went in the Dugout Cafe and went in the basement and had a beer. So these undercover cops, did they go in there with guns drawn? I mean,
and by the way, so Jerry, the police officer who runs the social media for Chicopee, he's actually in the comments right now, I noticed, saying these are lies. I don't know can we call him in?
Say that again. Go over that again.
The police officer who runs the Chicopee social media pages, Michael Wilk, is actually normally they're pretty good, by the way. I want to say that right away. Chicopee police have a pretty good record. And he's actually in the comments right now saying that what I'm saying right now is lies.
Sure. What lie are you saying?
Get on that, producer.
You couldn't hear me as I was talking there. Yeah, let me see if I can get him on. I'm going to message him.
You literally have the Facebook page from the Chicopee police. I mean, I'm reading directly from their Facebook post.
Yeah, I'm reading it right off. It says they sat outside after approximately 45 minutes. They did not exit. So they sat there. They have the resources to sit in a parking lot and watch people enter a restaurant for 45 minutes. And the big bust at the end of the day is people drinking beer. That's it.
Yes. I mean, I have it. They smelled smoke. So someone was apparently smoking cigarettes too, which I believe is a felony in the state now. But I understand that it's not their call. It's the governor, our out of control liberal governor, Charlie Baker, who can't make enough executive orders to make for him. I mean, he's going to hate when this lockdown ends, and he's not doing press conferences every day bragging about putting people out of work. He's going to hate that. He loves this power, and so does his lieutenant governor. But at what point do the cops say, yeah, it's just a guy having a beer? I mean, I'm a cop. I didn't sign up for this.
Because they doubled down. They kept commenting about how they're doing this to save lives, and they have a lower rate. First of all, they don't compared to other, like Pittsfield is almost the size of Chicopee. They have half the deaths, so that's just patently untrue that they're saving more lives than other places. Secondly, this is a nursing home epidemic.
How does this save lives? I mean,
it doesn't save lives.
You got to be an idiot. You got to be an absolute idiot to think if you shut down a bar because 4 guys are having a beer that you're saving lives. I mean, I understand. Perhaps you think you're doing some good. You're not. You're not saving lives. You're not stopping the virus. You're just being a fool. You're being a pawn. And I feel like people, most people are coming around. Not here, but most people around the country are coming around. Here, as I went through last week, 85% support the governor.
Yeah.
And I was out and about all weekend. Weather wasn't great, but running, walking the dog, and I saw this, I don't know, 4 or 5 times, probably more. Little kids, 5-year-old kids with masks on. To me, I'm going to say it right now. That is child abuse.
I agree.
You're a fool if you put a mask on your 5-year-old. A, they can't get the virus and it doesn't do any good. And B, what are you telling the child when you do this? You're telling the child that scary, invisible enemy, as the president likes to call it, over and over and over again, the invisible enemy. So you're telling a child, a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, when you wrap his face in this mask, that little invisible virus out there is going to come get him, and it's going to get in his lungs, and it might kill him. I mean, we are talking about kids who are going to need, therapy for the rest of their lives. You're going to screw them up when you tuck them in at night. Do you tell them, you might get the virus tomorrow, and we might not see you again? I mean, what do you tell a child when you put a mask on them? It's insane. We're raising a generation of little Howie Mandels. That's
and
what.
By the way, when the Chicopee police are sitting outside, they're staking the place. They're all being paid. By the way, this bar is losing everything. They're losing their revenue. They're losing everything, and you're sitting there getting paid to find them more and then shut them down for when they do come back. I mean, are you proud of yourselves? Do you feel like you saved the day? Because I got news flash. You didn't help anybody by doing this. This saved nobody. You have just as much of a chance. You have an increased chance of picking up the bug if they went to Home Depot or Walmart or one of those other places as sitting. Where is the evidence? Or how about this? How about they just go into the bar, buy food, and leave? Can they not get it that way? Or do they only get it when they drink beer in the bar? What are you talking about?
It is amazing, man. I drove by this Home Depot. I drive by or walk by a lot, and it was so packed. Yesterday was Mother's Day, but it didn't matter. People, they want something to do, and lots of people, they just go to Home Depot, go to Lowe's, and there was no line. I didn't see a line outside, so they were just all packed in Home Depot, which is fine. That's people. They take their chances. Life is about risk, and they say, I'm going to go to Home Depot today, but you can go to Home Depot again, but you can't go to whatever. You can't go to the furniture store next door, the sporting goods store. It's insane. But here's the most insane part to me, Turtle Boy, is I understand. Again, we have an out-of-control governor. He's ill-informed. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's just making laws. Well, they're not laws. They're executive orders. Making executive orders, trying to make everyone's life more difficult. One day it's don't wear masks. The next day, people are wrapping their 4-year-olds' faces in cloth because the scary virus is going to come kill us all because that's what the friggin' government told him. But the fact that people are all on board it's just nuts. And I went over these numbers last week. 85% like what the governor's doing. I have a poll here that says 75%. Oh, how about check this out? It's an ABC News poll. 92% of Democrats say reopening now isn't worth it. 92%. And I'm encouraged by this, though. 35% of Republicans say it. The Republicans want to open up the economy. Democrats don't. 92%. And it's insane how many women think that we should never open the economy up again. The men, I got the numbers here on men versus women. It's overwhelming.
Now you see why I pick my battles at home here. you see why I kind of go on, get along.
I understand, but it's.
Are you suggesting this is a male-female thing?
Well, no, because it's. I'll get the exact numbers.
I am.
It's 75% women, 55% men who say so. Most men and overwhelming number of women say it is not right. Opening up, it is not time to open up the country, open up the economy. And I guess they're busy. Their kids are home. They're busy. They have not read up. They don't understand it's a nursing home problem. They don't know. What happened in New York. The numbers are totally skewed because of that fool, Andrew Cuomo, who sent coronavirus patients into nursing homes and killed elderly. The number is over 5,200 now in New York in nursing homes. That is overwhelming. That is tragic. And that is the fault of this moron governor they have who wouldn't let them put the patients on the ship. Big empty ship. It's gone now. But that big empty ship just sat in the New York harbor while he sent sick people into nursing homes and just wiped out thousands of nursing home patients. It's maddening. And I still, if you're on Twitter, you're watching whatever Sunday shows, you see how great he's doing. I'm going, great. You could not do worse. You could not be a worse executive of your state than Andrew Cuomo. It is incredible.
So the big thing in the media tells you is the number of deaths is equal to how badly you feel, right? So
Right,
Trump has overseen X amount of deaths, 75, 80,000 deaths, whatever. But Andrew Cuomo has literally had what, 50% of all COVID deaths in the entire
I'll get
country.
the numbers here in a second. I got them.
Like literally like almost the size of the rest of the states combined in one state, but he's the hero. Yeah, that makes tons of sense. The governors that screwed up the most casualties, right? Karen Whitmer out in Michigan,
Right.
Charlie Parker, and Cuomo. They're like the three most heralded people right now, and they got the most deaths. And meanwhile, we're giving Ron DeSantis crap, and Greg Abbott in Texas, they're getting crap, and nobody's dying in their states. It's like amazing.
I know it is remarkable. These guys, and they're you can go to a restaurant now in Florida, even though they got a huge elderly population. Florida, I'm looking at it right now, 1,700 deaths. In Massachusetts, which has 6 million people, I believe Florida has 20 million, and many, many more elderly. Florida has 1,700. Massachusetts has almost 5,000. New York, 26,812. So, and more than 5,000 of those were in nursing homes. New Jersey, 9,200 in New Jersey. Florida, okay, 1,700. Texas, 1,100. The job Greg Abbott has done, you're right. The job DeSantis has done is remarkable. These and you never. I mean, you got to look. You got to do your homework, because if you sat back and listened to whatever network news or CNN, you'd think Andrew Cuomo was just kicking ass. You'd think he was just a brilliant man. He is.
Jerry, how come you don't move to Texas? I don't understand. Do you like being angry?
Yes. I like being. I like being outnumbered. You know, sharpens the skills. You know what I mean?
That works for you, yeah.
Do you guys want to get the? You guys want to call the Chicopee Police Department here? You want to see if we can?
Sure. Let me just get that. I want to.
Yeah, you want to get those numbers?
Speaking of numbers, look at the viewers right now.
Here's
ratings.
Here's what the the New Jersey governor. He's getting a lot of credit too. Even Trump is saying Phil Murphy's doing a terrific job. They're getting close to 10,000 dead. You know what he's busy doing? An executive order canceling wave parades.
Oh.
Phil Murphy in this Goldman Sachs, hedge fund guy that bought the office in New Jersey, has come out with a directive saying they are banning wave parades. If you don't know what a wave parade is, it's where a bunch of people drive by a house for someone who had a birthday or a graduation, and they wave. Yeah. And they wave and they honk.
And usually hold signs. It's a
family. No, not anymore. No more signs. No more waving and honking. Wow. Can you imagine the mentality of a governor who says, I have 9,200 dead people, many, many elderly are passing away as we speak. We have to stop the wave parades. I mean, these guys are just out of control. And you gave the best example, Whitmer. Whitmer comes up with a new rule every day and then stands before the cameras and says, damn it, you will listen to me.
Imagine being married to that woman.
I know. She is creepy.
Imagine being quarantined with her. Oh, good Lord. Good Lord.
It is right.
Several amendments.
You know why they're doing these things? Because they're getting high approval ratings. Charlie Parker here in Massachusetts, he orders, children to wear masks, and his approval numbers go up because he's protecting us, Turtle Boy. He's protecting his people.
Thank you. I really appreciate you saving my life. I was going to die of COVID, but then those guys went into the bar and then they got caught. Now I'm going to live. Thank you so much. Oh my God.
And he had kicking and screaming. He had to become the last state in the union to allow golf. And I understand why. Again, I've talked about this, tweeted about it. You've talked about it, written about it. And you get these Karens, these neighborhood nosy narcs who sit there and say, why do you need golf? Who cares? It's a rich person's sport. And you go, that's not the question. The question is, why can't we golf? Why shouldn't we golf?
The mayor of Lawrence yesterday posted on Facebook, I got another story, that it's racist, that it's because we open up golf, it's a white person's sport. So people of color don't play. Therefore, it's racist. We should all stop until, even though there's no reason.
Does he understand how it's played, that you don't touch each other, unlike, basketball or football, that they don't touch each other? Does he understand that? And by the way, 25,000 people in the state work in the golf industry. How many do you think are, minorities? I'd say some. I'd say a fair amount. I don't know the numbers, and they would like to get back to work. They're not.
I don't think they would. I mean, that's what he posted, that they don't want it. They're getting paid. He makes a good point. They're getting paid more on unemployment.
Right.
Why would
You
they want
should
to
go back and look at when they had the fight on the Senate floor. Bernie Sanders and others were fighting for this provision where you got the $600 additional, making it impossible for some employers to get their people back. I've
Yeah.
talked to some people, and you have too, and they say not everybody. Some people have pride and they want to work, but other people are going, call me in July when this little perk runs out. I'll be, what I was going to say, I'll be on the beach, but you won't be. You won't be on the beach because that's against the law. But you get an extra 600. Some people are just going, what the hell's the point of work? That was Bernie screamed about it, fought for it, they got it, and other people were saying this is such a disincentive. It's going to hurt any chance we have of coming back. But I guess we know why. What did I say? 92% of Democrats want to keep this going because it hurts Trump, because it hurts the economy. It is disappointing because I think some states, some red states have opened up. Georgia, we have no problems yet. I mean, we were expecting this mass wave of death. It was just
Jeffrey Kelly tweeted out dinner at freaking Denny's or something else. It looks so good. I'm like, I can't wait to sit down at a restaurant and just eat food. It's freaking awesome.
I know, without looking around saying, I wonder if the undercover police from Chicopee are in here. If I sit down and they're gonna, you know what they're gonna do?
Dave said in the comments that we're gonna get him on the phone. Is that true, Dave?
Yeah, I can call him right now. He gave me the number. I have a feeling there's going to be some backstory to this bar specifically.
I'll hear the whole thing. Let's hear it.
Let's call him on the fly. Right.
They're going to have like yardsticks too. There'll be 2 yards, but you'll make sure everybody is a social distance in a restaurant. Make sure tables are 6 feet apart, and make sure people.
Here we go.
Good morning.
Good morning, Officer Wilk.
It is. How are you?
How are you? You're on the Jerry Callahan podcast. Appreciate you taking the time.
Sure, no problem.
All right, guys, you got it. Here.
Is this you who is on the comment saying that we are wrong?
Yes, the thing I want to point out about, well, first of all, good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Turtle Boy, good morning. So,
good morning.
The thing that's one thing I want to point out is the thing about calling 911 for masks. That's not true. So let me explain that really quick. I get tons of messages, private messages to the police book page with people trying to report all types of crimes, from disturbances to drug deals to suspicious people. The point of that was, if you have something that you feel you need a police response to right away, don't report it to the Facebook, call the police department. And I use the mask, not wearing a mask example, because I've been getting a ton of those about people not wearing masks. So if people feel they're in danger or there's a violation of some sort, call the police department to have a car sent and let our uniform guys investigate it. Because
hold on, could you hold on a second? You want people to call them, and you will send a car if someone doesn't have a mask?
If they're violating the governor's mandate about masks, being too close, gathering, we'll send a car to try to tell people, look, this is what's.
You'll send a police car with like a siren and everything and guns. I mean, you'll send a police car if somebody calls and says, my neighbor doesn't have a mask on and he's in his backyard. You'll do that.
Well, no. That's not happening. It's not. We're obviously not going to go to someone's house if they don't have a mask on in their backyard or with their relatives or their family. That's not it at all. What people are calling about is, we had one incident at our Walmart where they asked someone to wear a face covering. It's not even a mask. It's a face covering. You can literally pull your T-shirt up over your nose and mouth. We just wanted people to cover. So if they cough, sneeze, whatever, it offers some sort of protection. So if someone walks into a store and an employee says, we want you to wear some type of face covering, if that person gives them a hard time, pushes past them, ignores them, walks to the store, those are the types of things that people are calling about. Obviously, if somebody calls and says, my neighbor's outside cutting the grass, not wearing a mask, we're not sending anybody to that. We totally understand you're at your house.
This is what the
you're
post
with your family.
That's on May 1st, you wrote, if you witness an active incident or situation such as someone driving erratically, overcrowding in stores, or no masks, call our dispatch. You're saying if you see somebody with no masks, call dispatch. That's what it says.
Those were the things that were getting sent to private messages to me that people were complaining about. So those are the examples of the messages that I was getting, where if you feel that there's some type of violation, or if you feel it's important enough to report in a private message to a Facebook page, call our dispatch. Our dispatchers will screen those calls out. If you call and say, look, my neighbor has 5 of his people over and they're in the backyard and they're sitting around watching TV, playing cards, We're obviously not going to send somebody to that.
All right, we're
If
talking to
somebody
Officer
there's a
Michael.
guy
Is it
walking
Officer
in
Michael Wilkes?
Walmart that's I can't. I'm sorry. You came in broken up.
Okay, I want to get to the Dugout Cafe. Forget Walmart. I understand if someone's in the store, they can make their rules, but the Dugout Cafe is why we're talking about this. It's a
Right.
it's a bar slash restaurant in Chicopee, and you
Right.
guys went in and busted them for what now? For having a couple beers in the basement, correct?
So it was more than a couple. So let me explain that whole situation. We had been getting reports. We have school resource officers that obviously aren't working in the schools right now. So they're assigned with the Board of Health to investigate complaints, non-compliance of the Board of Health orders, the governor's orders, the Department of Public Health's orders. One of those orders is that bars and restaurants are not to be open to serve people inside. So you can open for takeout, which they were. They were open for takeout. If you ordered, you could walk in, pick up your food, walk out. Well, we started getting numerous complaints that this establishment was allowing people into the basement to congregate, gather, and drink, and operating as, like people like to say, like a speakeasy. So our guys went there. They were out in front of the bar, and they watched about 6 people go in, a couple people come out, and the other people didn't come out.
Whoa.
So they walked in with 2 other people. They went to the takeout window. The first thing they saw was a guy sitting in a booth drinking beers, which it could have been an employee, could have been whatever the case was. There was that one guy. They couldn't find the other people. They went down into the basement, and in the basement setup was a 6-foot folding table with approximately 20 to 30 drinks on the table, 4 people around the table, a bartender with an envelope full of cash accepting cash money for the drinks, and then a gambling machine, a poker machine set up with a bar stool, light, and camera on it for people to play. So they were obviously operating some type of a drinking establishment in the basement for people to come in. This wasn't friends gathering. This wasn't buddies just meeting to play poker at
Well,
their
of course
house.
they're friends. What do you think? They're strangers?
Well, I don't know who they were, but there were 4 different people. So what we got was that he was opening. So the Board of Health closed them down and said to stop. There's been reports of arrests. There's been reports of that. There has been nothing other than a cease and desist, because you cannot open a bar or restaurant and have people down there congregating. Now, what I think what people fail to realize, people are talking about ages of people dying in COVID. As I explained to Turtle Boy, we've had kids as young as 2 days old, 7, 8, 9, 10, who have tested positive for this COVID virus. We've had people in their 20s.
Hold on. How many kids, 7, 8, 9, 10, have tested positive?
There's been about a dozen in the city.
A dozen kids, 7, 8 years old, have tested positive in Chicopee.
You have the data for that?
Yeah. Okay, we'll
check on that. We get notification from the Board of Health. We don't get, obviously, HIPAA information, but we get
I guess my question
data on male, female, and the ages.
Yeah. Who cares if kids get COVID? They don't die from it. The kids get the common cold too. Who cares?
No, you're wrong that they don't die for it. If there's an underlying medical, someone 50 years old.
Not die from it.
I have a buddy that's in his 40s that's on a ventilator fighting for his life. So you don't know.
What does that have to do with kids being like? What does that have to do with kids? Kids don't die from COVID. A guy on a ventilator who's 40 has nothing to do with the fact that kids don't die from COVID. That's not true.
Yeah, but that's just a pretty generic statement. We would rather not take the chance of one kid dying by trying to stop people from gathering than
the kid has a better chance of dying Colin Parkin style, getting stung by a swarm of bees, than they do from COVID, right?
Yeah, I'm just curious, officer, what do you think you accomplish when you shut down the Dugout Cafe? What happens? What is the positive that comes out of that?
Well, the problem is this, is that it's obviously been going on for a while since we've been receiving complaints about it. And all it takes, we don't know at any given time how many people were in this basement. I mean, it just happened this night. That's how many were down there when the officers went in. We don't know if some nights there were 15 people, if there was 1 person, if there were 2 people. All we know is they had their bartender set up downstairs with over 20, 30 drinks on the table with money. All it takes is if one of those people who are positive and don't know they're positive goes into this bar, obviously everybody's sitting at this table. If they take that disease home to an elderly person, or if they go somewhere and take it, this isn't a permanent thing in life where we're all trying to stop them. This is a temporary. Our numbers here in Chicopee are low. Hold on, let me finish. Our numbers here in Chicopee are low. Sadly, we've had 5 fatalities. Obviously, that we've had two that were in their 80s, one 100-year-old person, and someone in their 50s that had underlying medical conditions. You know, you see Walmarts around the state, around the country that are shutting down to clean because their employees are sick. We've had none in our store. We feel what we're doing is best for everybody. It seems to have stopped the spread in Chicopee.
Come on, you're crediting yourself. You're really crediting yourselves because you're stopping guys in bars. You think that stopped the spread?
Yeah, it definitely has something to do with it.
Why do you have double the amount as Pittsfield then?
I don't know. I haven't even looked at Pittsfield's numbers.
What are Pittsfield's numbers? Data? You guys aren't some beacon of stopping COVID. You're pretty proportional to the rest of the state. The data reflects that you're not doing anything special. And my question is, what if these four guys got together in their home and were drinking beer together there? What is the difference?
The difference is that bars and restaurants are to be shut down only for takeout until they're cleared to open again. So you're acting like these are four buddies or relatives or friends. It's not. These are just people that walked in. Again, this has been going on. We don't know at any given time how many people at one time were there. If somebody walked in and said, "Hey, could I have a beer?" Oh yeah, go downstairs. We don't know that. So we don't know who these people were, if they're related, how they know each other. It was operating as a bar, and you're not supposed to. So they were issued a cease and desist, and that's it.
I'm curious. I know this isn't your call, officer, but how long would you like to keep the state? How long would you like to keep Chicopee shut down?
Well, I know in daily conference calls with the mayor, we are absolutely working on a plan to start reopening things. In fact, I know Turtle Boy mentioned about our non-essential aisles closing, and there was a good reason for that as well. Everything's been opened back up again here in Chicopee for aisles, for stores. The stores that can open that are deemed essential are open. People are wearing masks, face coverings. There's been one issue. That's it. Since this has taken effect, everybody else has been doing it. You know, and we want the economy to get going again. We want businesses. None of us like this. None of us are in a good spot here having to do this stuff. This is not enjoyable for us. This is not something we're all like, yay. Obviously, we put on the Facebook about the dugout because a lot of people were complaining about it. And we use our Facebook, like Turtle Boy says, to get out information. We post our high profile arrest. We post as much community information as we can. This is something, and again, personally, from what I've seen this disease do to people, to friends, with I have family that work in the medical field and then are in law enforcement. I see what this disease is doing, and I'm comfortable, just as the mayor's comfortable. We're doing the right thing to try to save lives.
For how long?
For
how long?
A popular thing? Maybe not with some people. Is it a permanent thing? Absolutely not. We want things to go back to normal. I'd love to get back to my normal life.
When would you like? Honestly, I want an honest answer. When would you like to get back to normal? When would you like to open up businesses?
When we see the numbers drastically decline, when we see the amount of people that are the infection rate or whatever dropping. I know, like everybody else, I'm pretty sure the entire country is watching Georgia, Florida for the next couple of weeks to see what their numbers are. And if their numbers don't increase, well, then you know what? It's not my call. I mean, I'm part of the committee to reopen things, but then we start looking at, okay, let's do this. Golf courses are open. I have no issue with golf courses. In fact, I can't wait to go golf. But I think that the places where you have the most contact, a restaurant, for example, you can't eat with a face covering or a mask on. So that's something that I see a little bit further down the road till they can figure out things out. I've had people who own dance schools call up. You can't dance with a mask on. So that's another thing that once this starts to really slow down, I think then you can start looking at all these places that.
But you understand that there's no vaccine. You understand with no vaccine, the virus will still be out there, right? In a week, in a month, 6 months, it'll still be out there.
It's absolutely going to still be out there, right? It will be. But if we could slow the curve down, and people who are more at risk, if they feel they need to wear. I mean, this has changed everything in life. But people who are more at risk, if they don't feel comfortable going to an establishment or needing to wear face covers, that'll be up to them. But right now, and again, we've had situations here in Chicopee where we've had people who are positive that are trying to push their way into grocery stores stating, well, I already have it, I can't get it again. They're not thinking that they're spreading the germs could infect us.
How do you know that? How do you know someone who's positive how do you know someone who's positive pushed his way into a grocery store?
So certain stores in the city have hired officers to work at the stores to assist them with people wearing face covers. In fact, some stores have bought masks, handing masks out to people. And we had an incident where someone was tested positive and tried to get into the store because they'd already had it. They can't get it again. And that obviously the person was.
How do you know they tested positive? Did you test them?
They came back as a positive test. Yeah. Again, we get certain data and we know who certain people are in the city. And yeah, they were an absolute positive. So
again, how do you know that? I don't understand. What data do you have that says that citizen was positive?
Yeah. Do I what?
How do you know that person was positive?
Because so when people are tested, the results go to the Board of Health, and we get certain information, not all information, because
that person,
we get certain
person. You get the names of the people who have it. Is that correct?
No, you're not listening to me. We get certain information, but not all information. But we get enough information where there's some people in the city that are very well known to us because we habitually deal with them. And if we get information that matches that, we know at that point. Plus, this person was telling everybody. And based on the information, the limited information we have, we know that this person is in fact positive. They were telling everyone, and it matched data that we get through the Board of Health. So that's the problem. We're trying to keep everybody safe from people that are disregarding if they have it, how serious it is, and going out into the community and doing whatever.
What's the name of that person?
It may not be the most popular thing, and none of us are enjoying this. None of us we want to go out to a restaurant, we want to go to a bar, we want to go to a mall just as much as everybody else. But right now, with the spike and with the peak,
no spike.
Well, this is best, and it seems to have been working. I mean, we have 15 people who are positive right now, but our numbers of people healing are upwards of 160.
Have you looked at the numbers, officer? Have you looked at the numbers in Florida and Texas by comparison? When you can go to restaurants, they're not busting people for having beer in the basement in Florida or Texas. Their numbers are much better than ours in Massachusetts. Much better.
Well,
it was the same thing in those states, though, that where businesses were closed. I honestly haven't looked. I've been focused here in Chicopee, but I mean, I know for a fact that all theme parks and all restaurants, I have friends in Florida, they were pretty much quarantined at home for the longest time. They couldn't go to restaurants or bars, and I know they're just starting to reopen up. But I don't know.
They quarantined. They quarantined the vulnerable, which is what you're supposed to do, which is what we didn't do here in the Northeast. And they have come out of this much better than we have. And you can actually, go to a restaurant. I don't think they have people going undercover trying to find out who's, not wearing a mask down there. We do that here because that's the way we think. But the people are on your side. We've seen the numbers. They want this authoritarian state. They want undercover officers busting bars. That's what they want. So you're most people are with you. It is frightening. It is discouraging, but we appreciate the time. And when you get that person who's positive, let us know so we can be sure to stay away.
I'd love to expose them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're not going to expose anybody, but again, Jerry, like I said, I understand, there's both sides of this. We're trying to stay down the middle. It's a tough thing. We just want people to be safe. This is something that's unprecedented. There's no guidelines. There's no book. We're basically writing the book. And if mistakes are made, and you learn from them. But
and you assume no one in the Chicopee Police Department has been laid off, correct? You guys are all gainfully employed, right? Because 1 million people, 1 million have lost their jobs in Massachusetts. Do you know that? Are you aware of that?
I think he just hung up. He's gone.
Good.
I'll tell you one thing, Gary. How we just listened to that. There was many obvious lies there. The fact that somebody's going into the grocery store and they knew, did they have a scarlet like COVID on their show? No, they didn't. That's obviously not true. If they're going to come on here and say lies like that, how is anybody ever supposed to trust the police after this? That's what I want to know.
You can't. That was very illuminating. I appreciate good job, Colin, and getting him on because he knows 7, 8, 10-year-olds who are spreading the disease. That is not true. He does
There you
not know any 7-year-old who's spreading the disease.
He said there was 12
They don't exist.
12 kids in Chicopee, age 7 to 9, that have it. 12.
That's
No,
that's
it's not true.
100% false. I am, by the way, I was going to mention this at some point. I'm looking at a study. It's out of Iceland. They tested 12% of the population of the entire country, and they're breaking it down, trying to understand. They can't find one case where a kid transferred it to an adult. Not one. It doesn't happen. There is no reason for schools to be closed. There is no 7-year-old spreading the disease. Officer Michael Wilk seemed like a nice guy. I'm glad he was trying to set the record straight.
I like Michael Wilkes because I've done many stories on the Chicopee Police, and they're very upfront. They give me a lot of good material to work with. So I'm just really disappointed in them more than anything, because I've seen how the New York police have refused to do this. They've refused to do any more social distancing policing. The Warwick Police Union just flat out came out and said, we're not doing anything. And Worcester Police have contacted me and said the same thing. But the Chicopee Police, don't act like you're not liking this. It's very obvious.
Oh, no, he's loving it.
You joy.
He's loving it. And it is discouraging because it's almost like not his fault, Turtle Boy. He's ill-informed. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Children do not transmit it to adults. You can't find the data to back that up. I've looked, trust me. And the guys in the basement, I'm going to guess, were friends. They're not strangers going into the bar. They're friends.
They walked in together. How are they this strange? Oh, we walked in at the same time. We all just sat down and had a beer together, and we got to know each other. What's your name? What's your name? No, stop it.
And we've made a hell of a lot more mistakes in the Northeast and New York and New Jersey, Massachusetts than they have down south, where you can go to a bar and don't have to worry about the Stasi coming in and busting you. The idea that they've stopped the spread or stopped the spike, it's just BS. That's not true. We didn't stop any spike because people, forced their 6-year-old kids to wear masks, or people couldn't go down the hardware aisle at Walmart. They couldn't buy paint or, toys at Walmart.
Did you hear when I asked him? I said, like, they honestly are touting this whole, like, we've done a better job than other communities. And I brought up, what about Pittsfield? Similar population to Chicopee. Well, I haven't seen their data. Well, then how do you know? Look at the data. I've looked at the data. There's nothing special about the way Chicopee's handling this.
He's a great example of just someone who is, he says he's not enjoying it. I think he is. I mean, I think he's enjoying his authority, and he thinks he's doing good. He's doing good. He's doing right.
To his credit, I think he thinks this is actually helping. I don't think he's listened or read anything about it. He's just bought into the fear porn. He's all about it. He's all in. He's not backing out now.
And again, there are kids aren't getting it. It's very rare, and they're certainly not giving it. They're not going home and giving it to mom and dad. There's no evidence of that. And they're certainly not giving it to people when they're outside, when they're in the park playing with their friends. The idea that we are, taking down basketball hoops, like literally taking the rims off so kids can't shoot baskets with their friends. We are going to look back on this. And I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. 6 months, 6 years, 60 years from now, and say this was absolute insanity, what we're doing. We talked about this earlier. Dennis Prager, the conservative filmmaker, talk show host, Dennis Prager has called this the greatest, he called it the worst mistake the world has ever made. And when I first heard that, it kind of made the rounds on Twitter, and people were, aghast, saying, what about the Holocaust? Or, what about
beating Russia wasn't a good idea either for Hitler.
What?
Beating Russia wasn't a good idea either in the middle of the winter. I would
say, electing Hitler, he got elected, but he says he distinguishes between mistakes and evil. He says, set aside evil. Slavery is evil. The Holocaust, evil. Pol Pot, evil. Just mistakes that are made in democracies and are applauded by most people. And again, most people think this is good that we've shut down the economy. But he says, and it's a great piece. I'll tweet it out. But he says the number of people in the world who will die of starvation is expected to double. The number of people being driven back into poverty because capitalism have lifted billions out of poverty.
But who you
and going back into poverty. There's going to be sickness and there's going to be disease. And we talk about alcohol and drug and domestic violence, but the unintended consequences are things that don't even enter the mind of someone like Officer Wilkes. They don't think about what's the downside. 1 million people are unemployed. No cops, no state employees. Nobody in Charlie Baker's office is losing his job. They don't give a shit about the people, the million people who are losing their jobs.
But Jerry, I mean, you would say biggest mistake, and I'm sorry, your guy Trump. I know you're a big fan. He's probably. I mean, you got to say that he's partly responsible. You know who would not have shut the country down, Jerry? Ted Cruz would not have shut the country down. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I agree. Well, I mean, he'd done some things, but he would not have been this draconian.
Yeah, I mean, Trump's New Yorker came out and it's like, Dr. Fauci, that's my guy. Yeah, listen to my guy. We're from New York together. We both, Fauci says I'm going to do it. And it was just just because he was scared. Like, what if Trump had no balls in this? Like, to be a great leader, you got to have balls. You got to take a chance sometimes. And he didn't do that because he was scared. And I'm sorry, this might cost him the election. You know when this lockdown is going to officially end? When they wheel Joe Biden out in his wheelchair on Inauguration Day and wipe the drool off his face. That's when this ends, because this is going to kill him in Michigan and Pennsylvania with people who lost their businesses and everything. And like, why did I vote for this guy? What the hell did he do?
Well, it's not his call. He left it up to the governors, but now we're seeing, just how wrong these governors are. I mean, Cuomo was the big star. So was Whitmer, by the way. I mean, they can't be more wrong. And the guy like DeSantis, as you mentioned, getting criticized. We went over the numbers. It's stark. It's amazing how much better off they are in Florida and Texas and many of these red states than they are in New Jersey, New York, Massachusetts. With these liberal governors like Baker, like Cuomo, are their instinct is to just not even consider the private sector, not even consider people employed in the private sector, and think, how can I save one life? That's what Cuomo said. If it saves one life, well, it's doing just the opposite. It's costing lives, and it's costing young people. I mean, we know the COVID, we know the virus attacks the elderly. You pointed out in this state, average age 82. The cop Wilkes admitted one of the 5 deaths is 100. It is 100. And he made up some nonsense about 7-year-olds getting the virus. They don't. He made that up out of thin air. We know that's not true. But Charlie Baker, his mind is like, the soccer moms love me. I got great numbers among, suburban women. They don't care that what I'm doing doesn't help. They don't care that there's no reason to put a mask on a child. It makes them feel better. It makes them feel like I'm giving them a big hug and I'm consoling them, and we'll get through this together. And you say, yeah, but what about my father, my brother? He lost his job. Say, what? This is about lives. As Cuomo said, if they go back to work, they could die. If they go to the basement in the Dugout Cafe and have a draft beer, we could all die. Oh, so let's bust the place. Let's shut down the place so we could live. That I understand why Baker does it. Cuomo does. They're playing on the emotions of the soccer moms. But how are people? How are 85% of people? How are they? 92% of Democrats think we should keep the country shut down.
Where is the Chamber of Commerce in this? Like, where is organizations that are pushing for private businesses? If I'm what these businesses should all do, the Dugout Cafe, everybody do it. Just open. If everybody opens, they're powerless. Just do it.
They've done that. Some places, Turtle Boy, they did it in Texas, where they busted Shelley Luther, the hair cutter, who is she's the poster child. She's the Rosa Parks of this movement.
Yes, no, you're not kidding.
Right, but she's a hero. And she's a civil rights, not to say civil rights hero. She's a free market hero. And it was great to see Ted Cruz go get his haircut by her. But she got busted, sent to jail by this Obama judge, this stooge, who put her in jail for 7 days. She got let out after 1 day, which is great. But then
Dan Patrick paid her fine, and the Supreme Court, and the Texas Supreme Court ruled in her favor. I mean, the courts are going to favor. Where is the ACLU? Why aren't they filing massive amounts?
ACLU is not on the side of private business. ACLU is, There's no.
Hey,
don't-
Jerry, the ACLU is defending me in a lawsuit in Rhode Island. So for some crazy, like they can come through sometimes, believe it or not. I know they're a left-wing organization, but they believe in civil liberties. And they believe me, trust me. I'm dealing with the Rhode Island ACLU. They're extremely radical liberal, but they're helping me out. And they're exact. So you know what? They have principle.
They do not, but we don't have to get into that now. Good luck with your lawsuit, but they are never going to defend, private business. They're never going to defend Shelley Luther, a hardworking hair cutter who was, the face of evil for, the Chuck Todds out there and the Nancy Pelosi's. How dare you go to work? You're supposed to stay home, go bankrupt, lose your house. They don't give a damn about people like her. But I thought the way to support her is just everyone open up at the same time. What are they going to do? Arrest everyone? They can't. If every restaurant, if every beauty salon opened at the same time, good. That'd be a great show of force.
Exactly.
But it's never going to happen in New York and New Jersey and Massachusetts. It'll happen in Texas, but not up here. Sadly.
Well, our local Shelley Luther actually gave you guys. She wrote a nice note to our Facebook page. By the way, follow the Facebook page. She wrote a nice note, Kara Cohen, because you guys covered, her story, and she didn't want to come on when I was reaching out to her because, to your point, I mean, she didn't regret her decision, but she was nervous about kind of all the fallout. Obviously, it went national, but she was super.
She's the owner of the 2 golf courses that led the charge to open up.
They backed up.
We talked about this on, I think it was Thursday, Turtle Boy. The guy in Millbury didn't get any credit. He was getting cease and desist letters and ripping them up in cops' faces. Like, he deserves a little credit in this situation.
That is badass.
And here's why Michael Wilkes, Officer Wilkes from Chicopee, is the problem, is because he thinks, like keeping golf courses closed made sense. He thinks putting masks on 7-year-olds makes sense. It's not his fault. He's just ill-informed. He thinks that stuff helps. He thinks that stuff helps when, in fact, it doesn't. And we need more people, more cops, more elected officials to understand that doesn't help. It doesn't help to keep golf courses closed. In fact, it keeps people out of work and on unemployment. I mean, it's insane. And did you see? I mean, I don't know if you read. Howie Carr had a column on this. The golf courses in this state had to hire a lobbyist. They had to hire someone to pressure the governor, and boom, they got it done.
Not just any lobbyist. Dan Conley, actually.
Right. The powerful lobbyist from Mintz Levin, and they had to put the pressure on. But, I mean, I can't imagine it was that hard. You say, but governor, shutting down golf doesn't help. It doesn't do any good. Nobody's touching anybody. But whatever, people don't want to be informed. They want to be led by the nose.
I didn't read Howie's column, but the lobbyist didn't do shit. Kara Cohen did the work.
Yes, she did.
She put the pressure on because she sees that story go national and everyone says, wow, this is just absolutely absurd.
She shamed them into doing the right thing.
She was going to. Right.
It is exactly what and more people need to do that. Just shame them. Just be like, there's no logical reason for this to happen. So, and put it to the test. Make a national embarrassment of Charlie Parker, and that's exactly what she did, and worked. Good for her.
The worst mistake the world has ever made, according to Dennis Prager. And I'm telling you, if you separate all that evil stuff and you think about what could happen down the road with unemployment and like he points out, starvation and disease around the world. I mean, India. He points out India shut down. They have 700 cases in the whole country, which has got like 1 billion people. India shut down, and they're going to go. They'll go into a recession, and that will kill millions of its citizens. And they just did it because everyone else did it. And the virus, got to stop the spike, got to stop the spread. I mean, they didn't think it through.
Yeah.
Great civilized nations did not think it through. It is frightening. But anyway, the Dugout Cafe shut down, right, Turtle Boy? You can read all about it on Turtle TV.
Yeah,
Shut down because 4 guys had beers in the basement.
Yep, they earned it. They learned their lesson.
Again, this is not. It's not about the Dugout Cafe. It's about the people who are applauding this. It's about the people who are calling the cops. He admitted that the people were calling the cops if they saw someone without a mask. People called the cops because they went to the Dugout Cafe to pick up a pizza, and they saw someone go down the stairs and sit at a table, and on that table were some beer bottles, and they said, Officer, yes. Is this emergency? Yes. They're having beer at the Dugout Cafe. And they sent cops in there. This is in our own state. God, this is discouraging and disturbing. And people
a poker machine, Jerry. There's a poker machine that was plugged in, and they were gambling.
About that, by the way, is that a crime?
I know. Thank God bars don't sell Keno tickets. That would be. We'd all be dead if they had.
I want Turtle Boy. I want you to track down some of these narcs.
Oh, that's what I do every day.
People who are calling 911. Because they saw someone to go have a beer in the basement of a restaurant, thinking that they're helping, thinking that they're somehow stopping this freaking virus. What is wrong with?
I thought he was going to come on and say like this specific establishment has caused a lot of problems over the years, and it just got worse from there.
Yeah, I know that was not. I don't think that one is.
And I assume there are police departments all over the state, all over the country that have a few of these types saying, "Oh, did you see anyone without a mask today, or did you find anyone, not social distancing?" They got their little measuring tape measure out there to make sure everyone's at the right distance. So they see someone in the park with their family and they're not 6 feet apart, and they go up there and roust them. I ran through Boston Common yesterday, and I had no mask, and I saw a couple cops that were like stationed and I got nervous. I was like, that's what even me. I've started saying, are they going to pull me over? Are they going to stop me and say, "Where's your mask?" Because I'm outside running in the sun and the breeze. And by the way, we're still waiting for any evidence that it gets transmitted outdoors. Outdoors, there is no problem. There's no transmission. It gets transmitted indoors, where the government is insisting you stay and you remain indoors where it is most likely to spread. But anyway, it is getting crazy, and it's getting frustrating, and it's going to get worse where we are. It's getting better in some places. It's getting worse where we are, because here's what Charlie Parker's doing this morning, Turtle Boy. He wakes up. I don't know if someone hands him a piece of paper like this and says, "Ooh, approval rating 85%. What kind of executive order can I issue today? Who can I harass today? You know what? I'll make babies wear masks. That's what I'll do. I'll make people wear masks at home. I'll make them wear masks while they're eating. They'll have to shove their food through the mask. That's what I'll do." And all soccer moms will say, "Charlie's looking out for us. He cares about us. He wants us to live." And unlike Trump and all those red state guys who want us all to die, Charlie cares.
Oh yeah. He's one of the good Republicans. He really cares about saving our lives. He's in touch with the common Karen. He really wants to make sure that everything's safe before these people are literally willing to give up their lives indefinitely. Like a year from now, they would have no problem if this insane. I've been doing it for 8 weeks. I'm going nuts, Jerry. Just
92% of Democrats want to keep this going. They are not ready to open up the country. And I'm saying, God, they must be all watching Tiger King or, Real Housewives. Are they watching the news? Are they reading up? Do they understand the destruction? They can't all be state employees. Some of them have to be losing their jobs or losing their small businesses, don't they? Don't they have to be feeling the effects? Are they all sitting at home?
There's many people on the Chicopee Police Department that probably adamantly disagree with Officer Wilk, and they just don't have access to the Facebook page. I'm sure, because police in general are more conservative for a profession, and most conservatives are against this lockdown, and they know it's ridiculous. So I'm sure Wilk does not speak for the entire Chicopee Police Department. He just has access to social media. But
go look at that friggin' that Facebook post. Is chilling. We smelled cigarette smoke too. It's like, oh no. All right, let's do Shea Concrete. Let's tell you about Shea Concrete. These guys, they get it. They're open for business. They're cranking. You know why? Because it's springtime and people have time on their hands, God knows, and they're thinking about a good springtime project. Well, if you're a homeowner or home builder, I got news for you. My brother-in-law, Greg, has a huge selection of precast concrete steps. Whether you're building a new home or you want to replace an old stair in an old home just to kind of upgrade the place, Shea has great values with designs for any home, available in concrete or customized with beautiful stone, granite, or brick. I said this last week, I'll say it again. Here's all you can do now for graduation or for the prom. You can have these virtual graduations. You have them out in the front steps. If Officer Wilkes doesn't drive by, you'll probably be okay. You don't have to even worry about wear your mask. But you might want to go out there and have a little celebration. Maybe you have people drive by and wave. We can still do that here. Can't do it in New Jersey, but you could have brand new front steps. How about that for an upgrade? Everyone's thinking about what they can do to improve their home this spring. This is what you can do. A new staircase can dramatically upgrade the front entrance of your home. In most cases, Shea can remove your old stairs and have you walking up your new front steps within hours. Check them out. You can learn more about Shea's precast concrete steps at SheaConcrete.com. That is SheaConcrete.com. By the way, maybe you can get a hat out of the deal too. These are really cool hats. Yours isn't bad either, Turtle Boy.
I'm not too shabby. I got a lot of compliments.
I like that hat. That what do you call that? Mesh back hat. That
trucker.
It's kind of cool. But couple things. I don't know why. To me, almost like nothing else matters because the country shut down and we're going into a recession. And I mean, we're in a recession and 33 million are unemployed. 1 million people in Massachusetts have lost their jobs. And these arrogant SOBs and these governors, these mayors don't care. I mean, they don't care. They're busy. They're loving it. They're aroused. It's time to have like this mass reopening. People just say, screw it. Let's all open up. They can't bust us all. It's the only hope. And they're doing it in lots of places, but they're not going to do it here. We'll be last. We're last to have golf. We'll be the last to have, whatever stores, furniture, sporting goods stores open, the last to have restaurants open. I saw guys working, a construction crew that were working on this condo when I was walking around. 3 of them. They were like putting in the windows, I think. And I was like, I want to stop and applaud. Like they're not nurses. They're not frontline heroes, but I wanted to applaud them just for going to work. That's what's got to. I didn't because I didn't want to make them uncomfortable. But I was like, way to go, guys. Way to go.
Like we're go. Every single commercial tells us to go out and clap at 7 o'clock every night and bring our pots and pans because they've reduced us to cheerleaders. Don't even get me started on that.
Every commercial's the same, by the way. Same music and the same theme, and
it's always some big company like Samsung or Apple that is directly benefiting from this lockdown. Do the math, people. Yesterday, I got my mother flowers yesterday and my wife flowers. Normally I buy them from a flower shop, but that's not essential. So I went down to Big Y, the germ factory, and I bought them down there from a gigantic corporation. This makes tons of sense.
It is. That should bother everybody that the mom and pop stores are getting put out of business, and
it doesn't bother.
Walmart and Lowe's, Home Depot are fine.
The greedy flower shop owner, all they care about is the profits, Jerry. They don't care about saving the lives of the 7-year-olds in Chicopee that are dying. It's a statistical anomaly. No one else is dying except in Chicopee, where all these kids are getting COVID.
Well, we're gonna have every day we'll have an update. Today's. I don't know what you're going to call it. Overreaction of the day is New Jersey governor, that idiot, who says there will be no more wave. What is the problem with wave parades, by the way? I haven't read it's just like an edict, another executive order. You can't drive by someone's house and honk.
I won't do it. I won't do the wave parades either, just because I think you're capitulating to them. You're giving them what they want. You're celebrating a bootleg birthday. Like my kid had a birthday last week. We're not doing that. I'm like, no. We're not. Like that doesn't count as a birthday party. You're buying into their garbage if you do that. Don't do
my daughter. We had a little graduation party for my daughter. We sat in the driveway at my mother-in-law's, and we sat outside. We were not 6 feet apart, but. And it was fun. It was fine, but you can't, you're always thinking like, what if we go over 10 people? The cops might come by and bust us for having a little graduation party and a cake. It's just, it's not. I understand again that how these politicians think. They love power, they love control, they love making soccer moms feel better. It's the people who are capitulating that just bother me to no end. The people, and you know what? They all think
this is all going to get. Sports is what started this. Sports can fix this. If the NFL comes back and they just have the stadiums open, they're going to sell out. Gillette Stadium will sell out. If there was a game there tomorrow at Gillette Stadium, they could sell that out. I guarantee.
I agree. You've seen some of the restaurants. I mean, it was encouraging that in other states, not here, but restaurants open up. They're packed. They're packed. They're not the same, but they're filling all their seats. The restaurants will be fine. I've decided people will go back to restaurants. Not all of them, but lots of them. And you're right. If the NFL started tomorrow, I think they will start on time. I really do. But they will not have 70,000 people. There'll be some way that they have, 20,000, 30,000. They'll have some way they say, listen, every other seat, that way we can keep our distance just to make people feel good, But the NFL, the gate is almost, it's not irrelevant, but it's not nearly as important as the TV audience. And TV audience is where they make their money.
You don't think Penn State is selling out 100,000? That's a college that literally put a statue up for a guy who allowed children to be raped over and over again, knew about it, did nothing. If you think they give a damn about social distancing at Penn State or the University of Alabama, I got news for you. They're not going to put up with it.
I said when they canceled the Final Four, I said they should have played it. Should have played the tournament. They should have let students and family go to the games. That's it. Because students are not vulnerable. Students aren't dying.
Everybody watched it.
That's what I was going to ask you. How many people were actually there at the UFC fight? So obviously they lost out on
none.
Well, you got the play-by-play guys. You got
Joe Rogan told everyone to give a round of applause to the winner, and it was like a joke because there was nobody there. There was no applause. You know?
That probably
the NHL and the NBA can't be playing right now in the same situations. We need sports back. Like, it's also pissing me off because the Bruins, I don't know if you guys know this, they were in first place by a lot. They were having a dominant year. They almost won the Stanley Cup last year. The Celtics were on a roll. They were a potential Eastern Conference title contender, and it's just gone. And it's like, we need that back. We need that back for normalcy.
I don't think it's going to happen because everyone's afraid of crowds.
Do you think the UFC helped or hurt the argument to bring sports back, just in the sense of like when crowds are going to start coming back to sports? Because the UFC did it. They seem to have done it in the right way, first to do it. Does that put pressure on the NFL to come back without fans? Do you think?
Yeah, NFL doesn't. See, I think Turtle Boy's right. NFL is such a juggernaut that they know everyone will applaud them, and they don't. Do you think Goodell cares about the soccer moms the way that
No.
The governors or the media care? No, he's going to say there's some way they'll have a smaller crowd just to show that they're doing something. They'll take some measures, and again, instead of 70,000, it'll be 30,000, and they'll say, and maybe they'll take everyone's temperature the way they do that, could do that going in, and maybe they can say if someone has 100-degree temperature, they can pull them aside, say get lost. But they will play because they're a TV show, and just like UFC was a TV show, that's what they are. And I don't think college could do that, though. College makes all their money at the gate, so they're going to have to do what you say, just bang out the place to make money, like Penn State and Michigan. They're going to have to let people in, but most people aren't vulnerable. Most people are young who go to these games, right?
I mean, the colleges will be open, so you might as well have the games. It's about choice. If people want to go to the games, they will, and they will. There will be no problem selling out each and every game. These colleges are literally defined by picture the University of Notre Dame with no football in the fall. Nobody would go. Their entire economy would crash. They would lose because they don't just make money off of ticket sales. They also make money by every game day weekend. Thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people flooded. They spend money on hotels. They go to the bookstore. They buy this, they buy that. And they're not going to do that. This is about money. The NBA has not, because they're the progressive one. They're the LeBron one. They're the ones that capitulate to the Chinese.
Right.
And so
they'll never blame the Chinese. This was, just an unfortunate accident. They won't blame the Chinese for lying and allowing it to spread and allowing people to leave the Wuhan province and come to go around the world and infect the whole world and kill, millions. But anyway, I think you're right. The NBA, NHL, it's kind of a lost cause. Baseball, who cares? They'll probably play eventually, but football is what matters, and football it'll signal the true reopening. The whole country when football begins in September. I hope college and pro. The dumbest thing was, shutting down colleges to begin with. You had all these kids in a controlled environment. You had them all on a campus. They should have had a different order. It should be no one's allowed to leave campus rather than everyone has to leave campus. Never should have let schools out. That was dumb. Those kids aren't vulnerable. They should have been together with other people who aren't vulnerable. You just should have said, nobody can visit grandma. That's it. It was very simple. We did everything wrong. In that regard, I do blame Trump. You're right, Turtle Boy. Although Trump never fails to at least mention the private sector. His priority is getting the country open again because he knows he has to. Whereas all these governors, these Cuomos and Whitmers and Bakers, all these liberal governors, they don't care about the private sector. At least Trump cares enough, and he gets the CEOs there at the White House and the Rose Garden, and he at least shows you that it matters. At least he understands people are losing their jobs.
In the comments, Jerry, are pointing out maybe the NFL will delay now that Dave Portnoy has to meet with Roger Goodell because he won that contest.
That is true. That's a good point. Goodell was auctioning off a chance to watch a game with him?
Chance to watch the game in the man cave, which is where he was during the NFL draft. So Portnoy originally came out. He bet he put in $50,000 toward this. It ended up and said he'd go as high as 7 figures. The total, it seems, is he spent $250,000 to make this.
He said he would go to $1 million.
Yes, he said he would do that. Yep.
Wow, I knew he was doing okay, but that's better. So he pays $250,000 and he gets to watch a game at Goodell's house.
I don't think it's in his house. I don't know if that's in the office. They probably built this man cave, right? I don't know where they built that thing.
I hate to break it to Portnoy, but Goodell isn't going to let his hair down. He's going to play along. He's going to it's going to be all cliches. It's going to be nice to have you here. I mean, he's not
going to wear the shirt, of course. He'll wear the clown shirt.
Yeah, but Portnoy doesn't care. Portnoy's just going to troll him the entire time. But
he's not going to get anything out of it.
It's going to be so awkward. You got to. That's $250,000 well spent. The marketing alone. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Will he be allowed to bring a camera crew?
Yeah, I don't know all the logistics, but all he has to do is tweet out today, "Hey, please buy this shirt to help me pay for this," and he'll make $1 million. It's that easy.
People, obviously, some people are still doing okay. I'm looking at the Bob Kraft donation. This all-in charity.
Yep.
And I assume it's for that Goodell raised that money for. But Bob Kraft donated 1 Super Bowl ring, the 5th Super Bowl, the Falcons Super Bowl. Donated his ring. By the way, can't he just make another one? He donated his ring. The first bid was like $50,000. It went for $330,000. $330,000 for a ring, and I guess you get to meet him and hang out with him and watch a game with him. But and the biggest donation so far for this whole fundraising effort was for Tom Brady. Tom Brady to go to a game, the first game, have a signed jersey, I believe, or signed ball, go to the first Tampa Bay game, and then you get to either have dinner or work out with him after the game. $800,000. 800. Can you find out who that was, Colin?
I'm going to look that up.
I mean, unless it's anonymous, probably anonymous, but that is somebody. I mean, is that like
what do you get out of that dinner, right? I remember it was like, I want to say now it was almost a year, maybe 6 months ago, but I could see spending $1 million to go to dinner with Warren Buffett. He's the greatest investor in history. You can learn a lot from that dinner. What are you going to learn? You know what I mean? What do you get out of that?
I agree. And they've raised $38 million, by the way, this effort. $38 million, because you get some people like that. I'd rather pay to go hang out with Brady, go to a game, get a jersey than just Bob Kraft's ring. Yeah. I mean, what do you just show everyone? Look, I bought Bob Kraft's ring. What's so great about that? Anyway, I've been thinking that as I watched the Michael Jordan Last Dance. And last night, if you missed it, there was 2 more episodes. How many are there? 2 more to go?
Yeah, that was 7 and 8. So 9 and yep.
So it was 2 hours of showing you what an asshole Michael Jordan was last night. Would you agree? It's just
not as much of an asshole as I was expecting him to be at some point. I mean, he's an asshole, but he's a competitive asshole. That's just kind of
the whole point. I mean, he's so driven.
Yeah.
And he just finds reasons to want to embarrass his opponents. I always said this about Larry Bird, and I would love to see one of these done about Bird's whole life. I know we mentioned that a couple of weeks ago. We asked, who would you like to see them do next? And I think Jordan is an interesting character. Obviously, he can be a real asshole, but he's just the greatest athlete and the greatest competitor. Those two combined make him just on a level of his own. But you're watching it and you're saying, this guy is just not a nice guy. I mean, he's just not a fun guy, but that's okay. That's not his job. He was great at his job. I wouldn't want to necessarily, play 81 holes of golf with him. It seems like it might be kind of annoying betting on every shot. He is a degenerate gambler, but he can afford it. Anyway, someone once said of Bird, he's it's not the joy of winning. That he doesn't play to win. He plays to watch you lose. He gets great joy in watching you lose and rubbing your face in the dirt. That's the same as Jordan. They're very similar in their competitive nature, Bird and Jordan, and they both kind of can be real dicks. But that's the job. That's why they're so great.
Who was the dude who scored like 37 on him and Jordan couldn't hit a shot?
LeGrand. I mean, I forget the guy. LeGrand something or other.
And Jordan goes and in the locker room says, "I'm going to score 37 in the first half tomorrow night, playing the same team again." And he goes out and what's he drop? 50?
He didn't succeed. He only scored 36 in the
he didn't score 37. He scored 30.
And then he scored. You're right, 50 something. LeGrand. I'll get his name, but you're right. And B.J. Armstrong, his former teammate, had to shove his face in the dirt. Seemed like the nicest guy in the world, but Jordan didn't care. He liked to ruin people. That brought him great joy. And if he didn't feel all that inspired or all that motivated, he'd make something up. The old Pedro Martinez thing, where there could be 10,000 people cheering as he walked off the field. If one person, heckled him, that's all Pedro Martinez would hear. That he would hear the boo or to hear the heckler, and he would say, "I'll show him." That is Jordan. But I don't think you could do this with Brady. You mentioned going to dinner with Brady. I'm sure it'd be fine. Brady'd be polite. He'd laugh at your jokes. But I'm not sure he would be that fascinating as a human being.
Yeah. Tom Brady, ask Kirk about. I mean, he's extremely boring. I have no interest in when he used to come on and you guys used to interview him. I changed the channel. I listened to it once.
I would agree at the end because he gets so guarded. After Deflategate, he never opened up. But when he was younger, he was pretty good. I mean, he'd open up, he'd laugh, he seemed to enjoy it. But after he felt burned by lots of people after Deflategate, and he became very cautious and guarded and didn't want to. You couldn't even ask about Trump or. Was
he interesting before Deflategate? And what did he ever say that was interesting?
Again, did I just say that I wouldn't want to see a 10-part documentary about Tom Brady? I don't think you'd find it that fascinating. I think he's it comes from a good family. His father hasn't been murdered like Jordan's, which was a big part of last night. And by the way, I shouldn't say that, Dave. It was not a big part. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
I know Jordan's making all the rules for this documentary, but they talked about his father, James Jordan. They showed them together, talked about what an important part he was. But they never even mentioned, as far as I recall, the murderers, the trial, the guys who did it, why they did it. All they mentioned was his father was murdered. And again, Larry Bird's father killed himself, shot himself while holding the phone and calling his mother. So stuff like that is tragic, but it makes for a good drama, a good documentary. Whereas Tom Brady apparently has a great relationship with his family, and that doesn't, make for a great documentary. So I don't think the next 10-parter is going to be about Tom Brady and the guy who dropped $800,000 to either have dinner or work out. What do you bet he picks workout? Just, because he's probably some.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, you got so that you got to do both, right? I mean, it seems to me like Tom Brady's going to work out anyway after the game. You go work out with him, and then you have dinner. You do both, clearly.
What do you?
That's got to be somebody. That's got to be somebody who wants to get some kind of deal out of Tom Brady too. By the way, it's got to be someone trying to get some form of an endorsement deal.
If I had dinner with Tom Brady, I don't know what I'd talk about. So, how's you're really good at football? Tell me about that.
You talk about nutrition? Would you talk about electrolytes?
Yeah, tell me about this. Your witch doctor there. What's he up to these days? Does he have any remedies? What does he think about COVID? Tell me, likely.
Brady would not want to do that. Would you ask about Trump? Say, do you really not like Trump anymore? You guys.
So we can just give me some bullshit evasive answer. I mean, it'd be the most boring dinner ever.
So you wouldn't drop $800,000 to have dinner with him? $800,000 in this climate, in this economy. That is remarkable. But anyway,
you know what? When we were starting this podcast, and the consultant wrote a press release, we should have pulled the I'm back. That's it. Jerry, you were gone for how many months were you gone? We should have just pulled the I'm back, because that was my takeaway. It's just how badass. Like, his agent writes 3 press releases. He throws them away and just writes and says, "Here, you try, Jordan." Right. And Jordan just writes, "I'm back."
And I know he wasn't a good baseball player, but I would do that. Like, if I were to take a year, if I were him, if I were like a big basketball star, that seems like a pretty cool thing to do for a year, or he did it for 2, but just go play baseball. See how, I'll give him credit. And he probably knew he would fail. He probably knew he wouldn't make it to the big leagues, but he said, I like playing baseball. That's what I wanted to do when I was a kid. And he went and did it. It's kind of little like a fantasy camp for 2 years. And
still won 6 balls.
Which, now all he does is play golf 30 seconds a day.
Yep.
He's so much cooler than LeBron, though. Just watching it, it's like
Right.
what the alpha male used to look like. The guy is freaking awesome. I mean, he's a dickhead, sure, but he's so freaking competitive and just evil and twisted. And LeBron is just the opposite, tapping out of games because of cramps and going online and tweeting nonsense, campaigning for Hillary Clinton. Michael Jordan would never associate himself with somebody like Hillary freaking Clinton. I miss that.
That is a good point. Like, I agree that Brady wouldn't be a good subject for this. And not that he's a bad guy, but LeBron, same thing. You'd be after like 2 episodes, you'd be going, okay, it's a great basketball player. He seems like a good husband and father. Where's the edge?
Yeah, what's interesting about
Where's the edge? Right, campaigning for Hillary and tweeting about the shooting. We can do that. We'll do that one of these days this week. Do the Ahmaud Arbery shooting in Georgia by those 2 rednecks. And he immediately comes out and tweets, we're hunted every time we leave the house. LeBron James is hunted.
The guy who tagged up his own freaking house in Los Angeles.
Right.
Hate crime is hunted.
Yes.
Oh, freaking God.
Yes. Jordan, you're right. Jordan is the ultimate alpha male. He's got this evil, dark streak that just makes him something special. And then when you watch the highlights, you go, no one else can do that, what he does, and do it night in and night out. Just go out there.
You knew Michael won all those titles, but it wasn't guaranteed. He ran into some powerhouse teams. I mean, those freaking Pacer teams, the Jazz teams, those were great teams. And it wasn't a guarantee. Like when LeBron goes in, LeBron's in the finals automatically, no matter what team he's on, he's in, So
some people, like you see on Twitter, say LeBron's better. They don't really believe that, do they? They don't really. No one really.
No, they do. They do. I mean, when it comes down to like raw physical skill, who do you think is more skilled?
Jordan.
You really think so, huh?
Physically, yeah. I mean, Jordan. I mean, he's not as big. That's his problem. I mean, LeBron's bigger. That's all. He's bigger and stronger, strong as hell. But Jordan is just so physically off the charts. And you combine it with, you get the Larry Bird drive with the physical skills of even better than Dominique or anyone else. I mean, just phenomenal to watch. You understand watching this documentary why he was such a big deal, because just being in the building or being on TV, you can't take your eyes off him. I mean, just everything he does.
We never had to play Len Bias, Jerry. And Len Bias schooled him in college. He was the ACC Player of the Year 2 times in a row. Never had to play him. That's the biggest, by the way. Len Bias dying changed the course of sports history more than anything else. Like, think of all the drafts that were changed and altered forever just because of that one incident.
I think he changed more than that. I say this, and I think his mother has said it, that generation, the opinion, the view of cocaine changed for an entire generation.
Sure.
Whether you were, I forget how old I was, 20. I mean, everybody immediately thought, yeah, you're too young. But for that, people from like 18 to 40 said, holy crap, it could kill me. It could kill me. That stuff could kill me. There were people doing it. I had friends. I have a really good friend who was doing it all the time. And he's got other issues. He's still alive, I think, but he was a mess. But he just thought of it like, smoking weed or, getting drunk. And immediately when Len Bias croaked because he OD'd on cocaine, it was like, so this can, wreck my heart. He did do a service in a weird way, send a message to an entire generation that they could die doing this stuff. But Jordan seems like he's got a few vices, though. I mean, I don't think he's doing cocaine, but he's got the glass of tequila next to him. He's always got a cigar. He's playing 54 holes a day. He's got some demons, man, and that's he takes them out, or he goes out in the golf course or basketball court or baseball field, and that's kind of where he lets it all out. But plus his eyes are bloodshot, and he's kind of fat. He just looks like he's worth $2 billion. I think he can afford whatever vices he's got, but he looks like he would be difficult to hang out with even now. It'd be like, just wear you out. Go, can we just play 18 today? You know, we have to get another bottle of tequila. Do we have to get another box of cigars? I mean, he's relentless.
Yeah, he's like that friend you want for like a weekend. You want to see him like once a year and let it all out and
bachelor party. Yeah, I'll see you at the bachelor party.
See it.
Right. But you know, that would be something. I bet you if he auctioned off, you get to play 36 holes with me, drink tequila, and smoke cigars. It'd get more than whatever Brady got, 800 grand.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, let's. You know what? I feel like Turtle Boy's got another blog in him about the Chicopee Police. I could see the wheels turning. I think we spoke early with Michael Wilks. Is it Officer Michael Wilks or
no S at the end? Just Michael Wilk, I think.
Michael Wilk of the Chicopee Police.
Yeah.
He's misinformed. He seems well intentioned but misinformed. He thinks 7-year-old kids are spreading the virus. He thinks when they busted a restaurant for serving beers to a couple guys that he's somehow stopping the spread. I mean, he's ill-informed at best, and I know Turtle Boy, you're ready to fact check him. I look forward to that. I've seen it already. tbdailynews.com. Read about.
Don't be afraid to embed this video in that follow-up. You don't promote us enough. You don't promote the show. You do nothing for the show.
We had upwards of 200 people during this live stream. Not a single one of my other competitors on the other days even touches that. Even when I share it, it only gets to like 80, 90. So, I mean, I can't carry you every day. I'll carry Mondays, whatever days you need me. I'll come every day.
Can you do me a favor and get closer to the mic? You're like,
okay. Can you hear me now?
Lean in a little more, smack you. No, good. Now that's better. Don't keep moving around. I know you're excited about your blog that you're going to do, fact checking the Chicopee Police. But read the Facebook post. If you think that we're wrong, he said we were wrong about some things. Just read the Facebook post and ask yourself, are these guys not enjoying this crackdown? Not all cops are, but some are. God knows lots of politicians are too. But check out Turtle Boy at tbdailynews.com. And by the way, big news. I forgot to mention this earlier. You're back on Twitter. Or are we keeping that a secret?
Yeah, at Real Uncle TB. We'll see if I'm here this time next week. For now, I got a new computer. So
he's got a new computer. He changed everything. He's got what is it? Tell me again your handle.
At Real Uncle TB.
At Real Uncle TB. You can follow Turtle Boy on Twitter. You can follow Dave Cullinane and me and the show, the podcast, at what is it? Callahan Podcast.
Yeah, make sure to go on Apple Podcasts, rate, review, subscribe. By the way, a ton of reviews came over the weekend, Jerry. Do you see those?
I know. Are they good or bad? I saw you tweeted out one that was good. There was a few that were taking shots at my former employer.
This is a great one. So this came in on Saturday. Turtle Boy's going to love this. Love the rotating guests. Gave it 5 stars. Here's his ranking of all the guests of the show. 1, Michael Graham, who's not really he comes on every now and then, but he's not a coach. Yeah, but whatever. 1 is Michael Graham. Number 2 is Tom Shattuck. Number 3, are you ready for number 3, Turtle Boy?
Better not be mute.
Scott Mutrin is at number 3.
Yeah, this is a troll.
Number 4,
Alex
Turtle
Reamer.
Boy. Nope, Turtle Boy got number 4.
Reamer. Okay.
Reamer. Number 5 is Alex Reamer.
The numbers speak for themselves, Colin. You see it. We all see it. It's plainly obvious. I suggest you open up your eyes.
I'm gonna keep allowing you to have the gimmick. We certainly appreciate you building the Facebook community for us, but at the end of the day, if we went on and we periscope this, Jerry's audience would be the one driving the viewership. But we're building a Facebook thing going on. So I do appreciate it. But at the end of the day, it's not the biggest deal in the world. Come on.
Kind of is.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Turtle Boy. Thanks to Officer Michael Wilk of the Chicopee Police Department. Thanks to Shea Concrete, Allied Paving, DCU, and Flagship Wealth. Thanks to our new friends at Flagship Wealth. This is the Callahan Podcast. We'll do it again tomorrow.